Good afternoon. This is Alison from Britsent. Here I am at Camillia's Tea House in Holborn, and today I'm going to be talking about tea, which, as you know, is very important in British culture. I'm going to be talking about the different times when we have tea, the different types of tea, the hot debate, milk versus water, and etiquette. Okay, so let's start with the times when we traditionally have tea. And of course there are several times. The first one is breakfast. Actually, most British people have the breakfast tea before breakfast, before you get up even. Because some people have a little machine near their beds called a teasmade, and that automatically makes the tea for you, so you don't even have to get out of bed. After that, tea at 11 o'clock. This is traditionally called 11sies, and you usually have a biscuit as well. Later in the day, of course, we have the traditional afternoon tea, which is always at 4 o'clock. Here I have a beautiful afternoon tea in front of me. Now, if you're at home, you wouldn't normally have afternoon tea at the table. You would have it sitting in an armchair, and the tea would be on a low table. Afternoon tea consists of scones, cake, and finger sandwiches, and of course tea. Now, high tea is completely different, okay? High tea sounds very grand, but it's not. In fact, it's the opposite, and it's called high tea because you sit at a high table with a high chair, and it's a little bit more like supper. For example, you can still have sandwiches and cake, but after that you normally have something savoury, like, for example, cheese on toast, and that is your last meal of the day. And now I'm going to talk about something that is a hot topic of debate at the moment in the British media, but to be honest, it's always been a hot topic within my own family because it does cause differences of opinions. Now, the question is, do you put the milk in first or do you put the tea in first? Well, there are different theories. To be honest, you can choose to do whatever you like. In the past, I think it was considered better if you put the milk in first. The reason being that you had good quality china cups and you didn't want to spoil them with the heat and you didn't want to stain the cup. So in the past, definitely it was more milk first. However, times have changed and people use tea bags these days. And so I definitely put the tea bag in, then the water, then the milk. My father absolutely disagrees. We even have quarrels over it. So you can choose. So now let's talk about etiquette. The first thing I'd like to mention is the spoon, okay? Now, what you shouldn't do is clink your spoon. What you should do is try to keep it as silent as possible, and that's because traditionally the cups were made of very fine quality bone china and you didn't want to damage the cup. Okay? Now, secondly, when you lift the cup to your mouth, one hand is considered better than two, but don't make the mistake of putting your finger out, okay? That's not considered very good. And of course, don't slurp the tea, drink it quietly. And what about the scones? I call them scones. Some people say scones, but actually I think the correct word is scone, because if you try to say scone, people might think you're trying to be posh. Not a good idea. And finally, and perhaps the most important thing I'd like to mention today, etiquette. It's not a good idea to serve brown sugar with tea, and above all, don't put it in a teacup. Use a proper sugar bowl. Now, this video wouldn't be complete without me talking about my favourite kind of tea. So I do like afternoon tea, but I much prefer this kind of tea, and everyone calls this builder's tea. Now, builder's tea is for builders. I'm not a builder, but I do like my builder's tea. It is traditional strong tea, so it's very, very strong with 2 or more sugars and lots of milk. Traditionally, builder's tea is supposed to be so strong that the spoon stands up on its own. I love it. So that's everything from me today, and I hope you enjoyed learning about British tea. If you're here in London, why not pop into Camilla's tea house here in Holborn? So, how do you take your tea? Why not leave a comment in the box below? Bye bye.